Spanish colonial rule affected many people, but there's one group of people that it affected more than any other, and that is the Native Americans. Once Europeans made contact with the Native Americans, they had nothing but, quite frankly, bad luck. It's estimated that anywhere from 50 all the way up to 90% of the native population died in the first century due to diseases such as syphilis and smallpox. Those were the main killers. They had no immunity to these European diseases that the Africans had, which is why we see the Africans as the main slave force in America. That's not to say that Native Americans weren't used in slavery. In fact, that's quite the opposite. In the encomienda system, conquerors of New Spain would be granted land, and on that land they could collect tribute from the native people. This tribute would be in the form of food, supplies, but most often work, slave work for the conquerors. Another thing that happened to the Native Americans was the fall of empires. Spanish rulers destroyed great empires such as the Aztec Empire to gain more power and control. It's often thought that Native Americans live in like a Pocahontas-like situation. Small tribes, live in little tents and stuff, but that couldn't be further from the truth. They had whole kingdoms, many of which reflected that of European monarchs and stuff. There's kings, aristocrats, and all that. Now, there was a lot of bad things that happened to the Native Americans because of colonial rule, but they also gained a few things through it, mainly through trade. Native Americans gained many new resources such as rifles, better clothing, steel, tools, just a whole handful of European goods through trade. Mainly, one great example of this is the fur traders up in what is now modern-day Canada. They trade beaver fur for all these new resources and tools. And speaking of tools, they also gained new agricultural tools and knowledge from the Europeans that they didn't have access to before, which really helped what little population they had left survive on food and stuff. So yeah, that's just a few of the main ways that Spanish colonial rule affected the Native Americans.